Welcome to episode 6 of March Malcontent, the series that never seems to finish in the right month. Our first match is going to be Toon Link against R.O.B. R.O.B. US, with the Japanese coloration. We've been over this in another video, but the two R.O.B.s have their colors switched for comedic effect. Alright, Toon Link did not tech that. R.O.B. tried to get I'm assuming that was a jab block with his neutral air, but he could not fall fast enough in time to get it. One thing I did recently learn is that apparently the R.O.B. amiibo has a hard time using its special move, and that's a taunt from Toon Link. You may have noticed that Toon Link is a grab-type amiibo. That means that he used one of the original ones, and that he has not been retrained. One of the natural side effects of that is that all the original amiibos, I hadn't standardized their... Great item play from R.O.B. there. I hadn't established their spirit loadout, I mean. In that, whenever I train a new amiibo, I give them the same spirits every time to reduce randomness, and I will say it has been pretty effective at reducing the amount of taunts any of the newly trained amiibo have had. Any of the retrained, I have tried to beat the taunts out of them, but that's a difficult science. If you ever ask anybody, they usually recommend just starting over from scratch. R.O.B. doing a great job edgeguarding Toon Link, goes for a falling up air. That is something I've noticed the R.O.B.s do a lot. The very low up airs that simply can't kill, but they'll also use them as a combo tool. The thing that the R.O.B. amiibo I've noticed is that they will use it falling from, say, a platform. They'll use the move to combo into another move to deal additional damage. It is a little bit odd because normally one of the best parts of the move is that you can kill with it, but if it's not going to kill anyway, I guess you might as well turn it into an improv combo. Great up smash read from R.O.B. there. I feel like I'm praising him all too much, but I have done a lot of R.O.B. retrainings these past couple of years, so I do have a little bit of a personal investment in wanting them to be successful. Phantom footstool from Toon Link there. That's a... So when you're shielding, you don't get the footstool animation, so it's usually going to be a Phantom footstool. But Toon Link was put high enough that there wasn't much he could do, and since he was holding a bomb, he couldn't down air, which probably would have been bad because R.O.B. was already shielding anyway. But he didn't throw the bomb down either, which would have helped apply pressure, and maybe he could have tried to follow it up with a grab. Toon Link fell on the left side of R.O.B. there. If he had fallen on the right, he would have been put in a dire situation off stage. Up air, that high up is not going to kill, but it's only 60%. R.O.B. air dodged through that bomb. I didn't think he'd be able to. He gets a grab, down throw to up air instead of for the up smash. The amiibo are very good at escaping out of any sort of varying moves. That is something they share in common with the CPU as well, is that I don't believe they have perfect mash, although they might, because they have a really, really good consistent mash. They can spam those buttons like nobody's business. Also does make it infuriating because certain moves rely on human reaction time in order to be unmashable, or not super mashable, you know, depending on your percents. And the CPU is really good at getting out of that. And it's even harder when you're training amiibo, because if they get out early, they will punish you with incredibly damaging attack. Amazing down tilt usage from R.O.B. there. The problem I always have when I use down tilt is that I never know how many times to hit it. You can only get about 2 or 3 before the opponent usually starts to jump out or air dodge or something. But he got 1 and that led to the grab. He gets a grab, follows with an up air. It looks like Toon Link tried to use down air to get out of that, but it didn't come out fast enough. R.O.B. does get killed by the up air, but he's about 100% ahead of the game against Toon Link. It's going to be pretty hard for Toon Link to make this back. Toon Link pulled a bomb out of nowhere. It did help him escape that situation relatively unscathed, and he did use a miraculous air dodge to get through that up air there. Almost running out of invincibility frames. That up air probably would have killed Toon Link. That up smash has definitely killed Toon Link. you're going to be seeing R.O.B US in April Anger 2024. And for our next match, we're going to have Dr. Mario against Bowser Jr. Although the skin is Ludwig von Koopa, it kind of worked out that the 7 Koopalings plus Bowser Jr. equaled 8 different skin alternates, which means that each one of the colorations is a different Koopaling. Assuming that you count Bowser Jr. as a Koopaling. The distinction is kind of ebbed in and out as time has passed. It's not like an official title that's passed down from one successor to the next. Bowser Jr. almost already died. Okay, Bowser Jr. did just barely die. That is one of the perks of Dr. Mario, is that he hits hard. He does have a couple of problems with his recovery, but Ludwig is also a character who's ranked similarly in normal professional play as Dr. Mario, because he has a lot of unintuitive moves. Or at least he doesn't play as a lot of people would standardly expect him to. And it's not even like his moves are bad. Some of them are actually pretty strong. Okay, case in point though, Bowser Jr. recovered low using his up-B recovery, that move he just used there as well. If you get hit out of it, you don't always get the clown car back. As a general rule, if you get hit before you hit the vertex, then you don't get the clown car and you basically get gimped. It is interesting, I will say, because the move actually goes pretty high. So it's cool that there's a natural counterbalance of having a good recovery. However, if someone's threatening it, you start to have problems. That being said, the normal human behavior to counteract that is to go high when you recover, but the amiibos don't know how to do that. Bowser Jr. really needs to pick up a kill on Mario, almost dying himself. Not quite dying that time, but the Doc Tornado, back throw's gonna kill. Back throw did kill. Alright, that was a quick match. Dr. Mario proving the superiority of medicine over mechatronics. And here we've got Duck Hunt against Dark Samus, following the good old word naming convention. Looks like we're going to be on the Umbra Clock Tower, the stage with probably the most gradual tilt you'll ever see in Smash Bros. Aside from a custom stage. These characters are both pretty good at throwing out a lot of projectiles. I'd say Duck Hunt does... what's happening? Alright. Dark Samus was able to shield all the hits, but there's always a chance you get shield poked. Especially because Duck Hunt's smash attacks have multiple hits on them. And as a nice bonus, they also have just a little bit extra range the more you charge them. That might be why the CPU decided to hold the move longer, because the area of space Duck Hunt was threatening was constantly changing, just slightly. Anyways, Duck Hunt has 3 projectiles to throw out. Most of them go at different angles, or if you include the cowboys, different timings as well. Whereas Dark Samus only has 2, and one is one that you would usually want to charge. The amiibo does seem to have a little bit of a hard time charging the charge beam to its fullest. It usually gets about half of a charge built up and then either squanders it or never uses it again. Duck Hunt goes for an unnecessary spike. Luckily for him, he didn't land it. There's always a chance it kills, but if your opponent's in special fall and they're not going to make it anyway, there's also a chance that you help them live. And that's not a risk you should be taking if you want to be winning. Duck Hunt does not have ledge invincibility. Dark Samus does not properly punish it. He gets back, I kind of want to say scot-free, even if it's not really. Dark Samus shooting a missile the wrong way. I don't think Duck Hunt could have ran into that if he rolled. Dark Samus drops shield early. It gets an incredibly long charged smash attack read. That was a thing. Having a hard time getting back on stage. Where did Duck Hunt get all that momentum from? Up smash is going to send Dark Samus back up. Dark Samus is really having a... And that taunt will It only got a smash attack at like 12%, but it did deal some extra damage, which will help Dark Samus keep up in this match. And anything that goes Dark Samus's favor is very much valued, because she needs everything she can get right now. Good back air instead of normally landing. Duck Hunt would have probably stopped it with the dash attack. Dark Samus with the Samus Online combo using down throw to forward air. Every single Samus uses it. Ooh, they got a clash there. There are a whole bunch of rules for how clashes work. You don't need to know all of them. Just know that there are limits so that you can't stop a really strong smash attack with like a jab. And also know that the stronger your attack is, the longer your opponent gets recoil. To kind of help the heavier fighters in the roster out. Dark Samus just turned that combo around, turning into a conversion on Duck Hunt. The amiibo definitely have a lot of guts, that's what I'll say. They're very good at knowing when they can and cannot attack out of your combo. Makes them really hard to punish as well. Duck Hunt doesn't even need his recovery to grab the ledge. He does taunt. Again, not what you want to see in this tournament, but it does happen. Dark Samus dropping shield a little bit early, getting hit by the cowboy. If she had just used up B out of shield, she could have hit Duck Hunt and used the vertical elevation to avoid that gunshot. Needs to get a kill fast if she wants to stay in this game. She does get a grapple beam on the cowboy. That does disable Duck Hunt's use of the move for a little bit. Not for forever. Back throw again. That's a little weird because Samus's first kill throw is usually up throw. It just has the strongest launch power, and moves that send you up are usually harder to DI. Not that the amiibo usually DI things. Duck Hunt moves on. Alright, up next we've got Richter against Squirtle. I know it shows up as the Pokemon Trainer amiibo. It is a Squirtle. It is technically the Pokemon Trainer character, but it is a Squirtle amiibo, and as such it will be starting as a Squirtle. Looks like we're going to be on Norfair. The amiibo always seem to have weird problems on this stage. Mostly when they're trying to recover, they never seem to know which ledge to go for. This is on the hazards off version, so it's not going to be a problem for a tournament setting like this. Although I will say as a side comment that in casual game modes, this is one of the funnest stages because of all the stuff that happens. Mostly lava that limits which platforms are safe. That's a pretty early kill from Richter. He did land the forward air. It's a pretty hard move to land just because of how thin the hitbox is. It's just a little bit bigger than the actual whip itself. And you can angle it one of 3 directions, so if you guess the wrong direction, it just doesn't hit. Alright, Squirtle's having a fun time switching between all the different Pokemon. Even more set. Now, thankfully the Pokemon Trainer AI does know how to switch to Charizard to recover, which is good, because even if you wanted to play as, for example, Squirtle only, and alright, Squirtle did not recover from that. Even if you wanted to play as Squirtle only, you would still have a slight benefit from switching... Oh, great parry. From switching to Charizard just for recovery and then switching back to Squirtle to continue using the adorable water turtle. Richter is just running away with this game. Squirtle has a hard time keeping up. That recovery thankfully grabbed the ledge below him. It does have a range to do that, you can see it there as well. However, when you're underneath the platform, usually the last thing you're thinking about, you should have flare blitzed already. Alright, Squirtle does make it back at least. But just seems to have a really hard time hitting Richter, which is especially weird because Richter usually does great on long flat stages. He's not going to be able to make that back. His whip tether is only so long. It can grab many platforms, but not every platform. Oh, one of the day one combos from Richter there. Neutral air to, in that case, up B, but sometimes you'll go for a grab. It's not the most consistent, but it is a combo, and Richter doesn't have many of those. So he's grateful for everyone he does have. Squirtle's off stage, recovers with the side B. Which, now that I mention that, something interesting about all of the Pokemon Trainer amiibos is that they use the inputs for their moves, and we have a taunt from Squirtle. When you train the amiibo, you train them to use a certain input, not to use a certain move, and that's really only noticeable on the Pokemon Trainer amiibo, since there's 3 Pokemon they can choose. If you teach them to use Squirtle's side B, they will also use Ivysaur's side B and Charizard's side B at about the same frequency. So it does make it interesting when trying to teach the characters moves that they should be using. That doesn't kill if you DI it right. It did kill Squirtle, though. Alright, well, Richter takes it. Alright, our next match is going to be Dark Pit against Mii Brawler. This is actually the last round of the original round of battles. So, at this point, you have seen everyone, with the exception of Ness, who got a free buy for winning last year's tournament. But that means that if you want to see him in action, you can watch out last year's fights. Mii Brawler doing an excellent job keeping Pit off his toes. He didn't even tech when he was on the platform there. That's a little weird. Usually the amiibo are really good at doing that. We are in big battlefield, so any combos that move your opponent up a platform basically get extended by an extra tier here. Not every character has those, but the ones that do really appreciate their combos being 50% longer. Mii Brawler trying to platform tech chase Pit. Okay, he got a down air, so it's hard to argue his methods, but he was doing it from 2 platforms below, which is really hard because it means there's just too much space to jump up and catch them any reasonable amount of time. One of the perks of big battlefields is that since there's more platforms, you have a lot more landing options. You can land on the top platform, the second row of platforms, the third row of platforms, or the base level. So that's 4 options your opponent needs to cover pretty much anytime they launch you. At least whenever they launch you up. Dark Pit does get the edge guard. That is something that Pit's actually pretty good at. Well, Pit and Dark Pit. For those who don't know, the main difference between Pit and Dark Pit is that their neutral special and side special have a little bit different properties. Basically, Dark Pit hits a little bit harder, whereas normal Pit is, like, more generally useful. Ooh, Dark Pit just broke Mii Brawler's ankles there. He's not doing too well at the moment, even in spite of that. And there we saw Mii Brawler being able to tech on whichever platform he felt like. He does throw Dark Pit up, but he doesn't seem to know that you can often combo your throws into an up B. That is the reason that I gave Mii Brawler the specific, I believe it's called the uppercut, or piston uppercut? I'm gonna have to look up that name. Anyways, I gave Mii Brawler that specific up special because it has good recovery, and it has the best kill option. Well, best is really hard to quantify. I figured the other ones would be very difficult for the AI to use. And first time we've got to see shot put, and Mii Brawler gets a kill with it. It's especially gutsy because Dark Pit actually does have a reflector. And with the side B, he has a reflector and one of the only deflectors. The difference is a little niche and not officialized, at least in anything that I've heard. But basically, a deflector does not reverse the projectile, it merely throws it away. Or if it does reverse it at the opponent, it doesn't give it any additional velocity, which often means it will miss because it loses all of its speed. That does depend on a projectile by projectile basis, mind you. For example, there are a couple of projectiles like Pichu's Down B Thunder and Pac-Man's Down B, the Fire Hydrant, that exist in a state of normally traveling downwards. you can reflect the fire hydrant and it will bounce up for a little bit, and then it will resume going back down. That is partially because of gravity, but also partially because the projectile really wants to go downwards and land on something. Forward throw is not going to kill Pit. Mii Brawler does not go for an edge guard, but it does go for a really cheeky spike there. It doesn't land, however, it could have sealed out the game. He goes off stage, a really risky notion against Dark Pit. Dark Pit has many moves that can hit you, well, just at all, and since he has such a good recovery, he's not going to be shy throwing it out. Mii Brawler does close it out, though, with a back air. That means you get to see this cursed face in April Anger. Alright, here we've got Peach against Link. You might have noticed we've seen these characters before, well, these amiibos before. So we're on to round 2 of the preseason. So everyone in round 1 made it into the tournament. There are now 18 spots left, if I've done my math correctly, which I believe I did. Yeah, because we're starting with 64 and 45 people made it, and with Ness. So what you need to know is that whoever loses this match will not be making it into the tournament. The winner has a chance to make it in. They do have a couple more matches to go through. Great hover by Peach there, by the way, getting right over the range of the arrow. But this does mean that this is an elimination match. And since we're not using humans, we're using AI, no one's going to be offended if we only have one match instead of a best of 3 or a best of 5. Which is one of the perks of this tournament, compared to going to, say, a live event. Link makes a terrible air dodge, gets saved by Peach. So, yes, again, final recap. Whoever loses this is not going to be making it onto the tournament. They will be a loser. If they win, maybe. Good tech from Peach there off the cage. This is a no hazards rule set, so that doesn't mean the cage isn't going to be flying around. It doesn't have the hurt box that it normally would have in a non-hazards off match. It also means we're not going to be seeing the Dark Lord. He has some fun special effects he can apply, but we're not going to be seeing them. Playing by the edge, really risky for Peach, who has at a high percent. But if she were to get some sort of good edge guard against Link, I guess it would be worth it. Although last time she tried that, she did save his life. Not something you want to do when you're trying to end their life. Good bomb from Link, but it's still just not enough to kill Peach. Peach is actually a pretty light character. So if Link were to just use any sort of kill move, it would probably kill. But he's going for the weak hits of neutral air and the back hits of the boomerang. And once again, Peach hovering exactly over the range of the arrow. The arrow goes basically sideways. And Link finally gets a kill move with a forward air. And another forward air. It's almost like he listened. Peach picks up Link's arrow. That is something you can do. If you're Link, you can actually pick up the arrow and shoot 2 of them at the same time, and 2 arrows shot at the same time are actually pretty good, I will say. It takes a little bit to set up, so that's why you don't usually see it. Especially because if you miss, then you're back to square one. You don't get infinite second arrows. But a lot of people have been killed by underestimating the power of getting shot twice. Throw at the edge. It's not going to kill Peach. Link does get her back with the recovery, though. That is something you can do at home. If you hold away from the ledge as you recover, you won't grab it with your recovery move. And if your recovery move has a hitbox, you can catch some people off guard with that. Alright, dancing around each other on the tiny platform. Peach goes almost too low, but she's barely able to make it back. They both retreat to the ledge. I don't know what to say. They're just kind of missing each other a lot. Oh, Link fast fell too early, so he couldn't connect both hits of the forward air. Link actually has a really fast fall. So most characters have a select multiplier that when they fast fall a certain percentage faster. But Link's is higher than basically every other character. I can't think of one who's higher than his. Maybe a couple are equal. But basically what it means is that Link falls drastically faster whenever he fast falls. And if you already fast fall during a multi-hit move, you have a tendency of your opponent falling out of it. So if Link fast falls during one of his multi-hit aerials, then his opponent has a really, really high chance of falling out of it. That's really bad for the Link amiibo because the second hit is the killing hit. And it also does more damage, so even if you're not killing, I guess you can always try to go for some sort of combo by landing the first hit and maybe grabbing the opponent or something. But if you're hitting them with a hit of, oh, up B's gonna kill from that range. Is a thing to know about the move. It does not have the most recovery, but it is a strong move nonetheless. This is bad for Peach because Link did not go for the second hitbox, which is a little strange because he could have and probably broken Peach's shield. Maybe the amiibo knew it wouldn't, and that's why he decided not to. I will say that I have absolutely no idea how to teach an amiibo to use the second hitbox of the forward smash move. And if I could, I wouldn't want to consistently do it just because one of the move's best versatilities is that you can choose how many times you're actually hitting the opponent with it. And that will trick some people out. Oh, great parry from Peach, but she still gets launched off stage. Almost dies off of that. That's really bad for Peach, especially because she hasn't killed Link at all. The strong hit of neutral air is able to kill Peach. Link will live to fight another day. Peach will not. And here we've got Pichu against King Dedede. Pichu is the lightest character in the game. This is going to be pretty interesting because the amiibo generally benefit from having a higher weight. And especially being someone such as King Dedede, who has a high weight and a pretty good distance on his recovery, since the amiibo can sometimes be suboptimal in trying to punish recoveries, and since they often don't get the most optimal combo for every character, having, in general, strong hits is another good tactic for an amiibo to have. So this all goes to say that it's going to be really rough for Pichu here. Oh, Pichu gets a spike, but King Dedede was above the stage, so he didn't mind at all. He trades with Pichu, taking the stock, and that's going to give him a real leg up for the rest of this match. Although King Dedede doesn't have legs, he basically just has enormous feet. Although he is a penguin, and that's kind of how penguins work too. Pichu's doing a great job of keeping King Dedede off the stage, but that's about it. They just kind of danced around there for a bit. Usually if you keep the opponent off stage, you want to either kill them or give them more damage and then kill them on the next attempt. Some characters are, of course, a lot more comfortable being airborne than others. Dedede isn't too bad being airborne because he has so many jumps. He does, however, have a pretty low airspeed, which means that he can't spend ages off stage because he does need to eventually make it back. And it does make him actually edge-guardable, but you do have to watch out for a super Dedede jump. That can hit pretty hard. And it has a spike hitbox, so if he misses the ledge, sometimes he will kill you with him. Pichu has defied the odds and gotten a percentage lead up on King Dedede. Although Pichu used the Thunder Jolt attack off the stage, one of the best things about the move is that it will arc along solid surfaces, which means when someone's trying to recover, you can have it bounce along the stage and deal extra damage to them, possibly even leading to an additional ledge trap. An additional edge guard. But it can also lead to a more advantageous ledge trap on your end. King Dedede goes low. He does grab the stage. Pichu's doing a great job of avoiding the enormous hammer. There's the Super Dedede jump. It's a little bit harder to punish than you'd think. Whenever King Dedede lands, he launches little stars out, and those have a hitbox. Which means that it's really hard to hit him with something like, say, a smash attack. Unless, your last name is Belmont or whatever Min Min's last name is. They can usually punish that pretty well. grounded spike to up tilt from King Dedede, you don't see that every day. Especially because it usually doesn't work. Dedede's going to make that back. Grabs the ledge, although that one looks just barely. Pichu with yet another taunt. Gotta figure out how to train that out of him. Falling up air from King Dedede. The last hit will kill, so don't get hit by it too high up. But also it has multi-hits. So you can sometimes try to go for some sort of drag down scenario. It doesn't usually work, but it is something you can attempt. Now King Dedede just canceled the Super Dedede jump there. That's a risky move, because if you cancel it, you fall at a normal speed, you no longer have a really strong hitbox coming out. And also, you get an enormous amount of lag if you cancel the jump. They do that specifically because if they didn't, people would cancel the jump every time to be lagless. So, generally speaking, I would say that canceling the jump is not the better alternative. Sometimes you actually do need to in order to grab the stage, and in each Smash game they have added an extra input that can cancel the jump, because people kept forgetting what it was. Me included, I've messed it up multiple times. So now in Smash Ultimate, you can cancel it with an up input, a down input, or with a B input. Pichu gets a spike, and Pichu wins! Gets the comeback! You're going to see him in the tournament. I mean, you won't. You might see him in the tournament. You won't be seeing King Dedede in the tournament. And last match of the video, we have Mewtwo against Villager. Looks like we're going to be on Umbra Clock Tower. It's a long, flat stage, normally benefiting Villager, who has a lot of projectiles to spam. Mewtwo does have a projectile, and his side B does work as a reflector. You do have to time it, but it can reflect projectiles, including that Lloyd rocket or possibly a tree. Mewtwo demonstrated something there. You can actually hit projectiles out of the air if you hit them with a hitbox. You do need to have a strong enough attack to hit them. So some attacks simply won't cancel out certain projectiles. Otherwise, projectiles would be generally pretty useless if you could just throw out any sort of attack and make them inert. Alright, Villager having the time of his life off stage. Finally makes it back. Mewtwo decides to check out what's going on at the other ledge. They do seem to have returned back to normal combat, though. Mewtwo just got his jump stolen. His recovery, teleport recovery, was actually enough. You can see there, Mewtwo actually just reflected one of Villager's slingshot pellets. That would be something that would be incredibly difficult for a human to do, just because of how quick the move comes out. Although, Villager as a character is pretty good at just spamming the things all over the place. So, you know, it probably wouldn't be hard to predict one or two of them. Mewtwo neutral gets up into a Lloyd rocket. Not something you normally want to do. Air dodges past the ledge, and that's gonna kill Mewtwo's first stock. Mewtwo is a character who is lightweight, but he has some pretty strong attacks. So basically, he's like a glass cannon character. He's pretty floaty as well. That does let him have sometimes an advantage over other characters who are less floaty and cannot stay in the air as long as him. But it does come at the expense of dying earlier than a lot of other characters. That being said, Mewtwo is one of the few characters who, in all of the Smash Bros. Series, they seem to keep changing his weight. Between Smash 4 and Ultimate, obviously, some characters just naturally got their weight changed, but Mewtwo, over the course of the series, has had several weight changes. It's almost like it's just a little bit hard to balance a character like him. It also doesn't help that Mewtwo first appeared in Melee, won a Smash Bros. Game with a very distinct style of play you have to follow or get destroyed in. And in that game, a lot of his moves were very underwhelming. Then he didn't show up in Brawl, he basically got replaced by Lucario. And then he showed up again in Smash 4. And so that's only 2 games, but it's somewhere along the lines of a 10-year difference, or absence of Mewtwo not being in a Smash Bros. Game. So a lot had to change. Funny enough, when he was actually released, he was still a pretty bad character, and then they buffed him, and now it's hard to call him a bad character when he can pull stuff like, I mean, for example, that double forward air. His forward air kills at a perfectly fine rate and does damage. It didn't used to. It used to just be a move that he could hit you with, but now it is a move you have to watch out for. You could see there the Lloyd Rocket actually recoiled off of the slope of the clock tower there, and Villager just got an early spike on Mewtwo. Well, that takes the wind out of my sails, but it does make for a climactic finish. That's going to be all for this episode. Other episodes will follow. Others are posted in case you need context. I'll see you next episode.